Most people think manipulation happens because someone else is clever. That is a comforting lie. Manipulation succeeds because the target is psychologically open. Not open-minded, open to influence, open to approval, open to emotional hooks. The truth is uncomfortable, but freeing. People can only control you where you have not claimed authority over yourself. Psychological authority is not dominance. It is not aggression. It is not intimidation. It is the quiet ability to remain internally unmoved while others attempt to steer your emotions, decisions, or self-image. And this ability determines who leads interactions and who is led, long before a single word is spoken. Human beings are constantly scanning for leverage. This is not malicious, it is biological. We assess who reacts quickly, who hesitates, who explains themselves, who seeks reassurance. These signals tell us where influence can be applied. Most people unknowingly broadcast their pressure points every day through tone, posture, timing, and emotional urgency. The moment you rush to justify yourself, you reveal insecurity. The moment you over-explain, you signal dependence. The moment you emotionally chase clarity, closure, or validation, you hand control to whoever is willing to withhold it. This is not about morality, it is about mechanics. Psychological authority begins when you stop treating your emotions as instructions. Emotions are information, not commands. Fear tells you something matters. Anger tells you a boundary was crossed. Anxiety tells you uncertainty exists. But none of these require immediate action. People who are easily manipulated act directly from emotion. People who are difficult to manipulate observe first and decide later. This delay, this pause between stimulus and response is where power lives. Most people never develop it. They react instantly. They correct, they defend, they soften, they appease. And in doing so, they reveal exactly how to control them. The calm individual, by contrast, becomes unreadable, and unreadability is threatening. Manipulators rely on predictability. They rely on knowing which buttons to press. Guilt, urgency, fear of rejection, fear of conflict, these are the common ones. When someone presses a button and nothing happens, the entire strategy collapses. Confusion replaces confidence. Control shifts silently. One of the most powerful psychological shifts a person can make is abandoning the need to be understood. Wanting to be understood feels noble, but it is often a disguised form of approval seeking. When you need others to grasp your intentions, your reasons, your context, you give them veto power over your actions. Emotional authority means you act according to your values without requiring consensus. This does not mean becoming secretive or dishonest. It means becoming selective. You share explanations with those who have earned access, not with those who demand it. The moment you stop explaining yourself to people who are not acting in good faith, your stress levels drop and your influence rises. Another overlooked component of emotional authority is tolerance for discomfort. Most manipulation works by creating emotional pressure, awkwardness, tension, guilt, silence. The person who breaks first loses. If you can sit comfortably inside discomfort without rushing to fix it, you reverse the dynamic. The other person begins adjusting to you. This is why confident individuals speak less, not more. They are not trying to fill space. They are not trying to manage how they are perceived. They allow silence to exist without panicking. Silence forces others to reveal themselves. People talk to relieve their own anxiety, not to communicate truth. Emotional authority also requires internal consistency. If you say one thing and do another, you weaken your psychological position. But when your actions align with your words, even quietly, people notice. They may not consciously articulate it, but they sense reliability. Reliability creates gravity. Gravity attracts attention without effort. Most people attempt to gain power by changing how others see them. Emotionally authoritative people change how they see themselves. That internal shift produces external results automatically. When you respect your own time, others hesitate to waste it. When you value your own boundaries, others test them less often. When you trust your own judgment, external opinions lose their force. A key reason many people remain manipulable is fear of loss. Loss of relationships, loss of approval, loss of belonging. Emotional authority requires acceptance of loss as a possibility, not a desire for it, but a willingness to survive it. When people sense that you are not afraid to walk away, negotiations change instantly. This is why scarcity matters psychologically. Not artificial scarcity, real independence. When your life is full, when your identity is not anchored to one role, person, or outcome, you become difficult to corner. Desperation is loud, stability is quiet, and quiet stability commands respect. Importantly, emotional authority is not cruelty. It does not require humiliating others or asserting dominance unnecessarily. In fact, those behaviors usually signal insecurity. True authority is restraint. It is knowing you could react and choosing not to. That choice is what others feel. People who cannot be manipulated are often mischaracterized as cold, distant, or intimidating. In reality, they are simply self-contained. They do not outsource regulation of their emotions. They do not ask others how they should feel. They do not seek permission to act. The irony is that once you stop chasing control, it arrives. Once you stop performing confidence, it appears. Once you stop managing impressions, your presence becomes stronger. Psychology rewards internal alignment, not external performance. To develop emotional authority, start small. Pause before responding. Reduce explanations. Notice when you feel the urge to justify yourself. Sit with silence instead of rushing to fill it. Keep promises to yourself. Withdraw energy from people who test boundaries repeatedly. None of this is dramatic. That's why it works. Over time, your nervous system recalibrates. You become harder to rush, harder to guilt, harder to provoke, and people adjust around you without being told. This is how psychological power operates in the real world, not through domination, but through self-governance. The ultimate form of influence is not changing others. It is becoming unmovable enough that others change themselves in response to you. That is emotional authority. And once you develop it, manipulation no longer feels threatening. It feels obvious and avoidable. If this gave you clarity, like the video. If you know someone who still struggles with emotional pressure, share it. Leave a comment with your thoughts or experiences, and subscribe for more content on psychology, power dynamics, and self-mastery.